What's going on, guys? Sticks here from the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a deck that has kind of been thrown around quite a bit in the TCG tuber community, and that is a deck centered around Espeon-GX and Lunala-GX. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and click that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton, and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, a Lunala-based deck needs the new set to come out in order to be decent, because not only will it have another attacker in the baby Lunala, but it also gets Tapu Lele, which is just, I mean, that card is Bork, and I mean, not really. I mean, I think the card's going to be exceptionally good, but it's not necessarily broken, but it will still help out this deck a ton, and that got me thinking, what other decks that are already established are going to be helped out the most by the new Guardians Rising set that is coming up? Because, not gonna lie, Guardians Rising has quite a bit of stuff that will help already established decks. I mean, I don't necessarily think that any decks in themselves will emerge from Guardians Rising. Like, I don't think there will be any completely Guardians Rising based decks that will emerge as like top tier, but I do think a lot of established decks, some meta, some not so meta, will be helped out an absolute ton by the new set. So my question is, what deck do you think, I mean, competitive or non-competitive, sorry, I hit the desk right there, gets helped out the most by the new Guardians Rising set? Now, if you had to ask me, there are a ton of decks that are going to be helped out. I mean, obviously, any Lunala deck will be helped out a ton, because you get the baby Lunala as an attacker, you get Tapu Lele as a basic attacker that works perfectly with the Psychic Transfer synergy. You get Altar of the Moon, which essentially just gives pretty much free retreat to your Psychic Pokemon. I mean, Lunala-GX, actually no, Lunala will get free retreat as well. I think Cosmoem will be the only one that doesn't get free retreat because of its 3 retreat cost. So basically, it'll give your Psychic Pokemon free retreat, and so yeah, I mean, that all things that this deck needs horribly. There is Turtonator, which is going to help out Volcanion quite a bit, in my opinion, or it will be a deck in itself when combined with Volcanion. Not quite sure yet. I still think that a Volcanion Turtonator deck will be the best version of that. Obviously, Aqua Patch is going to help out Waterbox so much. And then there's also the baby Lurantis, which will pair perfectly with like a Lurantis Vileplume deck. Allow Lurantis GX to hit for that 20 more damage, which actually hits for quite a few magic numbers in that deck, and will, I mean, that 20 damage will be so ridiculously huge, and you don't even have to run like a whole new line of Pokemon. You just slap the baby Lurantis in on your already Fomantis Lurantis line, and you're good to go. So a lot of decks will be helped out quite a bit. The deck that I think will be helped out the most, and this is just based on past experience from what I've seen in the meta, I think that Water will be helped out the most by this new set. Now, I know you're thinking, wait, they just get Aqua Patch. Yeah, but if the history of the TCG has shown us anything, it's that any type with a patch is going to get obscenely good. I mean, Dark had a ton of things already going for it. I mean, it had the Darkrai, it had Sable. I mean, it just had quite a few things with it that made it that good. So I don't think Water will be on the same level as Dark was, but I think that Patch in itself is such a ridiculously good card that it will make Water quite a bit better, to the point where I actually think it'll have a shot at having an impact on the meta. But again, just my opinion. Let me know what deck, competitive or non-competitive, you guys think will be helped out most by the Guardians Rising set, and why. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. But anyway, this is a deck that I was not initially going to do because I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, I thought that, okay, it's kind of a cool idea, but I really don't think it has that much substance to it. However, one day I was talking to my buddy Bacon, and he said, Sticks, I have way too many Espeons that are locked to me, because that dude opened an obscene amount of Sun and Moon packs with coins. So, I mean, he has like, he said, I've got like 4 Espeons locked to me. Do you have a deck list for Espeon Lunala? And I thought, no, but I'll whip something together. And so I did, and passed him the list, and he said, you know what, this is actually decent and he had fun playing it, so I tried it out for myself, and lo and behold, the deck's actually pretty cool. Not competitive, but it's still pretty cool and can win you some matches. So this was the list I came up with. I'm hoping it's different than others online. I mean, admittedly, I have not looked at anybody else's list, so if it is similar, I apologize. This was just something that I came up with on the fly. I texted Bacon the list that I came up with, and then we made some minor tweaks here and there. But yeah, this is the list, and I'm just going to go over it one Pokemon at a time. So, first of all, Espeon is our main attacker, Psychic and Divide GX. Now, again, I know I did Decidueye Vileplume on Monday, on Sunday, I did Decidueye on Monday, so I was like, well, I mean, I have this cool deck, let's just do the other Pokemon that I already did, and so, here you go, here's Espeon Lunala. But yeah, 4-3 of Eevee and Espeon. Espeon's the main attacker, Psybeam and Psychic. Psybeam is a pretty solid 1-energy attack, and Confusion helps out quite a bit in quite a few matchups. I mean, just being like, okay, I just need a stall for a turn, you're confused, you might hit yourself in Confusion. Psychic, 60 plus 30 for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. I mean, can hit for quite a bit of damage. I mean, just to have your opponent having 2 energy, which quite a few active Pokemon will, you're hitting for 120, and then Divide GX, be able to spread around damage like crazy. I mean, just, this deck has 2 different GX attacks that it can use. Both of them are very, very good. However, you have to make sure that you're using the right one in the right situation. So we have Divide GX for spreading around damage if we want. And then we have Lunar Fall, which is just kind of a delete a Pokemon GX. That's the way I like to describe some of the GX attacks. Lunar Fall is just a delete a Pokemon. Literally, knock out one of your opponent's basic Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon GX. In this EX heavy meta right now, very, very good. We also have one Lugia as kind of a non-Espeon, non-Lunala backup attacker. Helps out with the Glaceon and other things like that. Lugia is just kind of a nice slap a bunch of energy onto it and Air Ball for a ton of damage. Lugia is going to be replaced by Tapu Lele in the new set. 1,000,000,000%. Lugia is going to be replaced by Tapu Lele, I think, in literally every single deck that runs Lugia. So, while it's nice to see Lugia having a bit of, like, hey, last hurrah on Lugia, it's going to be replaced by Tapu Lele because, at the very least, you always run Lugia for the Air Ball attack. Deep Hurricane is nice, but you don't necessarily run Lugia for that. You run it for Air Ball. Tapu Lele, while it can't hit for weakness, Lugia is not hitting for weakness anyway because it's a normal type. Lugia has a weakness, Tapu Lele does not, and Tapu Lele gets a supporter. So, Lugia, this is your last hurrah. Sorry, but Tapu Lele is just a lot better. However, in this deck at this time, Lugia is a very good basic attacker that's also has quite a bit of bulk. We're running another Hoopa as a basic attacker that's not an EX. So basically, I'm saying basically like 30 billion times or some form of that. But really we have, okay, we have 2 evolved attackers, we have a couple non-evolved attackers, and we have a non-EX attacker. So really, you can just play whatever attacker works in the matchup that you're up against. 2 Shaymin to help get some draw support. You really only have the bench space for 1. However, I want to make sure that we're able to get that early in the game if we need it. And also, I mean, so we're susceptible to Shaymin being in the prizes. So having 2 Shaymin kind of keeps that from happening. 2-1-2 of Cosmog through Lunala. Just make sure we get a Lunala. And then the Psychic Transfer opens up quite a few plays. Espeon gets damaged, move all the energy off of it, Max Potion it up. Lunala gets damaged, that type of thing. Moongeist Beam, helpful in some matchups, not in a lot. The defending Pokemon can't be healed during your opponent's next turn. Decent. It's a decent attack. However, Lunala, very, very bulky. 2 shots almost everything, and then Lunar Fall GX helps just delete a Pokemon. So a very, very solid Pokemon as a backup attacker. However, we are focusing on Espeon. And then Hoopa, like Espeon, is a good early game attacker with Hyperspace Punch, just spreading around 2 damage. Kind of helps with the Divide GX math later in the game. But Hoopa is a non-EX, non-GX, non-evolved attacker that we can use to just Portal Strike for 130 damage, which actually is a magic number, so that's pretty nice. So yeah, that's the line of Pokemon that we're running. Only 16, which actually gives us quite a few spots for other tech cards, like tech items. 2 Level Ball, Search Out, Eevee, and the Cosmog Cosmoem. So just pretty consistent, be able to be like, okay, I just want to get my basics out. Max Elixir as the form of energy acceleration in this deck. Unfortunately, Psychic does not have any energy acceleration right now, so we have to rely on Max Elixir. And then the combination with Psychic Transfer is very nice because while you can't directly Max Elixir onto Lunala or Espeon, you're able to Max Elixir onto like a Shaymin or a Cosmog or an Eevee or something like that. And then with Lunala, you can just move the energy around. So it's basically, okay, Max Elixir, get it on the board, and then I'm going to move it around with my Lunala. So pretty cool synergy right there. 2 Max Potion. By now, you guys know the synergy between moving energy around and Max Potioning up attackers. That's always going to be a good thing, and considering we're only running Psychic Energy in this deck, Lunala will be able to move all of the damage, all of the energy off of something onto something else, Max Potion it up, and then move the energy back. So pretty cool synergy right there. 2 Rare Candy to go straight from Cosmog into Lunala. I'm going to speed up a little bit because I've been talking for quite a while. 1 Super Rod to reuse some of the stuff in case we overextend. 3 Trainers Mail, help with consistency. I'd like to run 4. However, that would mean having to get rid of one of these tech options, which is really, really nice in the deck, and I really couldn't bring myself to do it. 4 Ultra Ball, get us what we want when we want. 4 via Seeker, reuse all of our supporters. And then as for these supporters, just a very generic me line. 4-2 of N and Sycamore as draw support, and then 2 Lysandre, no tech supporters. If I had room, I would run Olympia because this deck is susceptible to having something locked active like Lunala or Hoopa or something like that. So having Olympia would be a good way to heal damage and also switch things out, because otherwise we have no switch cards apart from Float Stone. So, I mean, this deck really does need Altar of the Moon, and also there's no Stadium in this deck either. So, I mean, this is not a perfect list by any means. However, it is still very effective in quite a few scenarios, and it's one that I've gone with. So, yeah, we don't run any switch cards apart from Float Stone. However, with Max Potion, we're able to heal up damage that you would normally want to switch out of. And then with Float Stone, you can get those in times where you generally need them. So it's pretty solid. And also your opponent cannot necessarily Lysandre install, because with Lunala, we just move the energy around to either retreat the Shaymin or attack with like Lunala, Hoopa, or Espeon, or the whatever is brought into the active spot. So, I mean, that's why I decided to not use any switch cards per se in this deck. However, they would be nice, just didn't have room. As for the tools, running 2 EXP Share and 2 Float Stone. Float Stone obviously for the free retreat, get something out of the active spot that we don't want there. And then EXP Share makes sure that if something gets knocked out, we at least still have some energy on board, because if we have like an Espeon with 3 energy knocked out, we just lose that 3 energy, and if we wasted our Max Elixirs in the process, we'll be kind of up a creek without a paddle. EXP Share is a nice way of being like, okay, I still have some energy on the board, I still have some options to work with. And then 10 Psychic Energy, that way 1/6 of our deck is basic energy. That way, statistically speaking, we should be able to hit Max Elixir almost every single time. I mean, just statistically speaking, 60 cards. I know that there's a lot of different variables. I'm a stats major, I know that. But if 1/6 of the deck is energy, from the, like, just from a very basic standpoint, we should be able to hit that Max Elixir when we use it. So, yeah, talked for way too long. Sorry about that. Let's see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Surg Sam's with a very interesting deck. I mean, we see Steel, Dragon, Psychic, Normal, so I'm wondering what my opponent is running. Possibly a Giratina Tauros deck or something like that. Interesting. We see an Evo Soda, so I'm not sure exactly what my opponent is running. I do start off with a pretty solid hand, actually. I mean, I'd like to draw a supporter, but you can't always get what you want. At least I have an Eevee and a Lugia and a Psychic Energy, so I can get an immediate Espeon and go from there. But, yeah, I mean, I'd like to get a Cosmog, but other than that, it's a pretty good overall first turn. I do draw a Rare Candy, which unfortunately I cannot use. I mean, I can use it like turn 2, but I can't use it turn 1, and you don't want a Rare Candy turn 1, so I am just going to evolve into an Espeon, then use a Shaymin for 2 cards. Hopefully it's something I can use, and it's not. So I draw into another Rare Candy and a Max Potion. Honestly, 4 of the cards in my hand, actually 5 of the cards in my hand, are cards that I would like to see later. My opponent actually just plays a Hex Maniac and passes. So what I'm going to do, I do have an N, but considering my opponent clearly had nothing, there'd be no way that I can get a Psychic off this turn, so I am just going to go for a Psybeam to, well, I was trying to two-shot the Axew potentially depending on what my opponent had. But either way, I mean, I'm still able to get some damage off on him. My opponent's going to be able to go for a Sharp Fang. And once again, I mean, he did not play a supporter. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know if I want to do that. If I want to play the end. So, I mean, this is some of the trouble that you run into sometimes with end. Because if your opponent obviously has a bad hand, then you don't want to, like, you don't want to get him out of it. So I am just going to Psybeam once again. Put the Fracture in range of being knocked out next turn with another Psybeam. And my opponent top decks a Sycamore. Okay. Well, not what I wanted to see at all. My opponent actually has 2 Rare Candy and a Max Potion as well. That's really funny. We both have bad starting hands consisting of 2 Rare Candy and a Max Potion. So my opponent plays down another Axew. He's going to be able to go for a Brat Snack, go for 10 damage onto my Espeon. I draw yet another card that I don't want to use, but what I am going to do this turn is Lysandre in that Fracture, because that's the thing that has a double dragon. It's 1 away from being a Salamence. I might as well just take that knockout. I'll end next turn if I have to. But I wanted to get that threat off the board at the very least. And if my opponent does Rare Candy into a Haxorus, that is fine with me. He does just play down a Cobline. Goes for a teammate, so my opponent might Rare Candy into a Haxorus and then go for a Dragon Dance. But Confuse Ray is going to do more than enough for me in terms of making my opponent flip a coin literally every single time he wants to attack. And I think I'd be able to live a Dragon Dance Haxorus. I'm not sure about that because I don't remember exactly how much Dragon Dance ends. I could be wrong, but okay, let's be real, I'm probably wrong. But my opponent does just concede. Honestly, probably because his last Rare Candy was prized or something to that effect, because he did have to discard 2. So, really quick first match. I mean, that's what I like about Espeon, is you are able to attack turn 1 and buy time with Psybeam confusing your opponent. So, very quick first match. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we found another one against a KK Zila with, it looks like, I mean, I always see Fire and Water and immediately think of Volcanion deck, but I've seen Fire, Water, Dark, and Normal enough to know that this is probably an Espeon, or not an Espeon, this is literally the one evolution that it couldn't be. This is probably an Umbreon plus other evolutions deck. We do lose the coin flip, so we will go second, but I mean, that's not too big of a deal, because I'll at least be able to Psybeam my opponent turn 1. Hopefully they go for an Energy Evolution immediately into an Umbreon, meaning that I can buy some time. And I mean, I run 1 Lugia and I'm starting with it. I mean, I'm not complaining because it's very nice, but it's just funny. That's like the Lycanroc video in which I started with the 1 Zygarde that I run in the deck like all 3 times. That was awesome. So yeah, clearly this is an Umbreon Evolutions deck. We do see the Bursting Balloon, which, I mean, I agree with. It's very good in Evolutions. I mean, I haven't seen it a lot, but Aura pointed out to me that that Bursting Balloon is perfect in that deck, which, I mean, I have to agree with, admittedly. I really do have to agree with that. Unfortunately, that means that Psybeam will damage me more than it damages my opponent's Umbreon, so I will have to be kind of careful with that. We do see the Energy Attachment and the Energy Evolution into an Umbreon, so that's going to be a little bit annoying at the very least. So I probably just won't attack this turn, or if I do, I'll Lysandre in something and damage that. So I am going to Ultra Ball, get rid of the N and the Lysandre to grab a Shaymin, get myself some more cards. There's 2 Cosmog and 2 Cosmoem in the deck. Or, not Cosmoem, what am I trying to say? Lunala, not Cosmoem. But I am just going to Energy Evolution immediately into my Espeon, see if I can hit the Max Elixir onto my Lugia, which I do, so that is pretty nice. Get 2 energy into play turn 1, go for the Shaymin, draw into 5 more cards, see if I can get something that I can use. I do. So, do I want to get rid of the... What do I want to get rid of? I'm going to get rid of the Max Potion and the... Espeon, I think, to grab a Cosmog. That way I can get that thing into play, and then what I am going to do is play the Cosmog down, Max Elixir, see if I can hit another one. I do, so I'm going to put another one onto the Lugia, and once again, it shows up as a Fire type really quickly. What is the deal? And then I didn't get rid of my Sycamore because I want to Lysandre around this Bursting Balloon. Go ahead and bring up the Eevee, Psybeam it so I get a full 30 damage and the Confusion without having to worry about Bursting Balloon. And then I still have a Sycamore to draw into 7 cards for next turn. So very, very good spot for me right now. Admittedly, we are at a type disadvantage, especially the fact that Lunala gets hit super effectively by Zoroark and Umbreon, so that's something I'm going to have to watch out for. However, actually, apparently I'm not going to have to watch out for it because my opponent just concedes. So, even with the type disadvantage, apparently my opponent just didn't have some... Apparently he just didn't have some of the stuff that he wanted, so he just decided, you know what? I'm not going to bother playing this. I don't have anything that is particularly useful, so, peace out. So, so we do get another quick win. Obviously, I need to find another good one with this deck, so yeah, let's go ahead and try to find another one. Alright, we found another one against Wriggles with, looks like we are going to be up against a Mega Gardevoir deck, which, really cool. I'm curious to see how this works out. If my opponent is playing the Despair Ray Gardevoir, then we're just kind of, sort of screwed because that can one-shot my Espeons. And I start off with a bunch of stuff that I don't like, and it looks like, okay, I'm really crossing my fingers my opponent doesn't play Despair Ray Gardevoir, because otherwise, if it's just a Brilliant Arrow, then we're in a decent spot. Otherwise, that's bad. So I do start off with a hand. Once again, I start off with the Lugia. What is with the Lugia? I mean, I don't mind it, but it's just really funny how every single time I've been starting off with Lugia. I mean, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but apparently the random number on Lugia is conducive so that it always is at the top of my deck. And my opponent does get, okay, double Xerneas. Just attaches and passes. Okay. Well, this is bad. So what I am going to do is Level Ball. Okay, there's one Espeon left in my deck. I'm going to be getting rid of 2 Espeon immediately with a Sycamore, which is not something I want to do, but at the very least, I have another Espeon, so I'm able to take advantage of Energy Evolution first turn and get a Cosmog into play. So I hate to do this, but I'm Sycamore and getting rid of 2 Espeons. I'm drawing into 2 VS Seekers. Let's play down another Eevee and go for a Psybeam. So I'm going to confuse my opponent's Xerneas and just pray that I guess he really can't get much else set up. He does attach the energy to his other Xerneas. Goes for Tails. Goes for Geomancy, gets Tails. That is gorgeous for me. I have another turn, so I am just going to immediately evolve up my Cosmog into a Cosmoem. I have a Lysandre. Do I want to play down another Eevee, or do I just want a Sycamore? You know what? I'm gonna have to Super Rod to win this game, so I might as well get another Eevee down. Pray that I can get my Super Rod in time to get another Espeon up, and then I'm just gonna Psybeam again. I have a Lunala for next turn that I can move my energy around and potentially go for a Divide GX, which would be pretty big. I need my opponent to play down a Gardevoir so that it's even bigger. But my opponent apparently does... He must have top-decked that, because otherwise there's no way he wouldn't have played that in the first couple turns. Plays the Gardevoir down, gets an energy onto it. Please try to go for a Geomancy and get Tails again. My opponent is just going to go ahead and Ultra Ball. Has all of the old Secret Rare Ultra Ball. Honestly, I think the new Secret Rare Ultra Ball is better. So, he plays down the Shaymin, gets another 4 cards. I mean, okay, that's cool. But I will be able to... okay, he gets the Fairy Garden, so he will be able to retreat into his other Xerneas and then go for a Divide GX to be able to... No, what am I saying? I'm thinking so far ahead. He's going for a Geomancy to get more energy into play. He's not going for a Divide GX. He does not have a Divide GX. Guys, I'm losing my mind. I'm very sorry. But what I am going to do, play my Lunala down, play the energy onto my Espeon, and then I think... What do I want to bring? Okay, so Lysandre wouldn't accomplish much for me at this point. I'm going to play the energy onto the Espeon. I think I'm just going to hold on to my hand for the time being. Do I want to hold on to my hand? I think so. So let's go ahead and Psychic Transfer. Put the energy onto my Espeon. That way I can go for a Divide GX this turn. And I'm deciding between Divide GX and Lunarfall. I think I think Divide GX is the superior play. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Lysandre and the Hoopa to grab... Yeah, let's grab a Shaymin, see if we can... I mean, I haven't played a Shaymin down, so there's no harm in playing one down, getting 3 more cards, see if I can get a Super Rod or something to... Oh, there we go. So that's beautiful. Let's first Max Elixir, see if I can hit that. I do not. I mean, it clearly didn't matter because I was trying to maximize my odds of hitting the Max Elixir. So I'm going to put back 2 Espeon and a Psychic Energy so I can draw those with my Sycamore next turn. And now I'm going to go for a Divide GX. Let's put... I need to put... So Mega Gardevoir has 210 HP. I need to put 6 damage counters on it. That way a Psychic from an Espeon one-shots it. Let's put 2 damage counters on the Shaymin. So again, a Psychic on a Shaymin with 1 energy one-shots it. And then, I mean, I have 2 to work with, so I think... I mean, I might as well just put them both on this Xerneas, so that way if he, like, puts... That way if he puts another energy onto it, I will be able to one-shot the Xerneas break with a Psychic. And yeah, I'm just maximizing my plays at this point, making sure I get the knockouts where necessary. And the more I play, the more I realize that Divide GX is a very good GX attack because it sets up a lot of knockouts. And right now, with the energy my opponent is putting into play, this Mega Gardevoir, this potential for a Mega Gardevoir is getting pretty scary. I do get a VS Seeker, so what I'm going to do is immediately Energy Evolution up my Eevee into an Espeon that I had just put into my deck. This way I not only save the Psychic Energy, but I save my Max Potion for when my opponent inevitably attacks. Let's just, yeah, VS Seeker for that Lysandre. Bring up that Gardevoir, because the Mega Gardevoir is the only scary thing. The Xerneas break needs too much energy to be able to one-shot me. It needs 10 energy on the board to be able to one-shot me with Life Stream, and at that point I can just play the game of Max Potion, move my energy around, that type of thing. So I will be able to get even another Espeon up next turn, play the Float Stone onto my Eevee, Trainer's Mail, see if I can get something good. And this, honestly, this is the ideal board setup. I have 2 Espeon, I'm about to get another, I have a Lugia, I have a Lunala, and then I have 1 Shaymin, because let's be real, you're going to be playing a Shaymin at one point or another to get the ideal setup. And alright, so my opponent ends me into a hand that's it's actually not even bad. I mean, I don't have a supporter, which I would definitely like, but at the same time, I have an EXP share to keep my energy on the board, I have a Max Potion to heal off any potential damage, and I mean, yeah, I'm in a very, very solid position. I could Psychic for 90 right now. I could knock out the Xerneas with a Moonfall. I am going to Level Ball, just get something out of the deck. Let's grab the other Eevee because this guy is actually going to be completely useless. I've already used my Super Rod, so I'm not going to be getting anything back that gets knocked out. Let's go ahead and Max Elixir, put it onto the Lugia, attach the Psychic to the remaining Eevee to Energy Evolve into another Espeon. So I have 3 Espeon on board. I have a Lunala. I can 4 energy. I can go for the 4 energy attack. Let's attach the EXP share to this Espeon, I think. I mean, I'm trying to think of the best way to go about this turn. So I can get a knockout on the Xerneas if I retreat into my Lunala, which I'm going to do. And then I'm going to Psychic Transfer the 4 energy that I have on board onto my Lunala, because let's be real, this thing is not going to get knocked out next turn. My opponent needs quite a bit. And then, alright, I am going to move 4 energy onto my Lunala, and then Moongeist Beam to knock out the Xerneas, because my opponent's Mega Gardevoir needs 8 energy. Oh, wait. No, he needs 9 energy. So he needs to have a Spirit Link, a Mega Gardevoir, an attachment, and a Mega Turbo. Wait. Oh, I forgot about the EXP share. That's bad. Okay, so if my opponent has a Spirit Link Mega Gardevoir and a manual attachment, then I'm in some trouble. But my opponent does end me into a perfect hand. Well, we see the Gardevoir Spirit Link. Do we see the Mega Gardevoir? My opponent has the Brilliant Arrow, Mega Gardevoir, and a way of getting another energy into play. Then Brilliant Arrow will be able to knock me out, but he apparently does not have it, so he just Rainbow Spears, gets 100 damage onto my Lunala, and this is perfect because what I can do is just play the energy onto my Lugia, and then I can I can Lunar Transfer, or Psychic Transfer, what am I saying? I can Psychic Transfer the energy off of my Lunala, put it all onto, it really honestly doesn't matter where, just get it off my Lunala for the time being so I don't have to discard any with Max Potion. There we go. And then Max Potion up my Lunala-GX. And then Sycamore away my hand, see if I can draw into a Float Stone or something like that. I do not. So I'm going to Trainers Mail, see if I can get a Float Stone, and nothing. I do get another EXP share, so I mean, that's something. I am going to throw that onto an Espeon, just to have some way of getting something later. Ultra Ball, grab the Cosmog, and okay, so there are two Psychics left in my deck. Let's see if I can hit it with a Max Elixir. Yes, I do get more into play, and this way, I won't be able to knock out my opponent's Xerneas, but I will at least be able to damage it to the point where I will be able to knock it out next turn. And I mean, once again, my energy turned into a fire energy. I don't get what's going on. I'm going to spread out my energy just in case my Lunala goes down this turn, like my opponent gets like a Mega Gardevoir and another attachment to be able to, or I guess he needs two attachments. So he needs a Mega Gardevoir and two attachments to be able to knock me out. So I am just going to move my energy onto that Espeon. That way I at least have a Psychic. And then with my other Espeon, I will get energy onto them through the EXP share if my Lunala gets knocked out. So I'm just kind of hedging my bets at this point. And those two Espeons, if this Lunala gets knocked out, they get an energy. I promote the Espeon that has 3 energy on it and no EXP share. If that Espeon gets knocked out, all of a sudden both of those Espeon get another energy. So both of them, if all of my energy gets taken off the board, will have 2 energy apiece on them. Still enough to be able to Psychic, which should, at this point, win me the game. My opponent does Gardevoir Spirit Link his Xerneas, plays a Giratina and an EXP share. Oh, he needed to. Okay, he wanted to Shaymin for a couple more cards. I think just going for the Mega Gardevoir, I think that's what my opponent has to be searching for at this point. I mean, on the bright side, he can't heal up the Xerneas, so I mean, I guess that's something. He Max Elixirs for nothing. Ultra Balls, gets rid of the Despair Ray Gardevoir. Okay, I guess he needs to be able to try to hit my Lunala at this point, because he will be able to retreat into his Gardevoir Mega Turbo. But that's only 8 energy. He needs 1 more to be able to knock me out. I mean, this is where I disagree with his play of going for the Rainbow Spear last turn, because unless I got a Float Stone, I would not have been able to knock him out because I would have had to retreat the Lunala. I mean, I guess I could have potentially Psychicked, but that wasn't an optimal play for me. So I disagree with the Rainbow Spear last turn because, I mean, it got him nothing. And now I'm just able to VS Seeker for a Sycamore, get 7 cards. There's my Rare Candy, and there are all my Float Stones. So I'm just going to put that onto the Lunala. The Lunala will be 10 damage away from dying, but at this point I can just retreat into my Lugia. And will I be able to take a knockout? Yeah, I'll be able to take a knockout because 210, and then if I put all 8 energy onto my Lugia, I'll be able to... They turn into a fire energy again! I don't get it! Put all 8 energy onto my Lugia, and I'll be able to one-shot this Mega Gardevoir with an Aero Ball. Yeah, if he gets, with the combination of EXP shares, and if he gets a Xerneas break, he should be able to one-shot my Lugia. But I mean, at that point, I'll get a couple energy back onto my Espeon. I can buy a turn or two. Actually, I'll still be able to Psychic next turn regardless, because I'll get 2 energy back from my EXP shares. I'll be able to manually attach from my hand, and I'll be able to move all the energy onto the Espeon with Psychic Transfer. So, I mean, regardless... I mean, unless my opponent just ends me into something that is completely unusable. Which, I mean, to be fair, that's his best play. Go for the end. Try to keep me from being able to do stuff. Because, I mean, at the very least, I can Psybeam to confuse my opponent. Like, that's... At the very least, I have that play. I have that option to be able to confuse my opponent, try to draw into one last Psychic Energy. Because all I need is one more Psychic Energy to be able to get that onto the board, to be able to Psychic and take the knockout. I do even get a Trainer's Mail, so, I mean, I was going to win next turn almost regardless unless my Trainer's Mail whiffed completely, which I mean, it definitely could. Don't get me wrong, Trainer's Mail has a history of whiffing, but yeah, I mean, the combination of being able to move around energy plus just being able to hit for way too much proved too much for my opponent. Like, they couldn't hit the magic numbers when they needed it. They were 10 damage off of being able to eliminate 4 energy from my board with their Mega Gardevoir. So, I mean, in the end, I was skeptical about Lunala Espeon at first, but Bacon, thank you for asking me for this deck list, because it turned out to be a very cool idea that ended up having some decent success in the right scenario. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.